The links to Odysee, Bit Chute. You definitely want to get on Odysee now because YouTube is shutting down live streams of the Rittenhouse case. It's like, hey, we come to YouTube to watch videos and see live streams. We don't want you to manipulate the content. Well, Odysee doesn't. And Odysee, you go to Odysee, and the front page of Odysee goes, yeah, come to Odysee, we have downvotes. They also have live streaming. They also are monetized. And everyone that is on YouTube that has a channel over like 1,000 is on Odysee. Literally, it's like a parallel YouTube, but it's got way less censorship. Okay, so I like pretty girls in skimpy costumes, and don't let Hollywood or Netflix manipulate you. They're truly, truly horrible people. It's okay to just tell these network scumbags what you want. If you want a show to look like the source material, heaven forbid, you can insist on accuracy. Be dogmatic and well, I won't say it. If you want a pretty girl in a sexy costume to jiggle and wiggle, then you have to say that on social media. Your voice must be heard. The second part is you can't allow them to shame you with their whinging and whining about the male gaze or feminism. That's Bolshevik propaganda. It's a way for Bolsheviks to manipulate you, and you have to reject that commie manipulation. Hollywood is full of Marxist, useful idiots, Weinstein types. They don't have the moral high ground. They're mostly cockroaches, like demon people in human form. What helps is to sort of act a little bit obtuse, something I was really good at on Twitter. Before I got kicked off for like the dozenth time. When they talk about feminism and sexuality, or sexualizing the character, just act a little thick, like you don't quite understand it. Just keep insisting on what you want. The shady part of this Bolshevik Hollywood propaganda is that Hollywood expects the cat ladies and soy boys on Twitter to prosecute their argument for them. Here's how, and really, with the feminists, it's like you just throw a red herring, you say something feminist, fat shaming, and these, like, screeching cat lady in their 30s will be all over it, or these, like, teenagers who are soon to be cat ladies in a decade they'll just go running after it. It's like they see the object and they just flock to it. They can't help themselves. So here's how it works. Brand Incorporated comes up with a stupid idea, and most ideas are stupid unless it's coming from, like, something small and independent like Comicsgate, or they're going to take something like from Japan that is cool, because a lot of things Japan is still doing pretty well, and they're going to F it in the A with woke cancer, because, as I said, they are vermin globalists. Or I think the new euphemism I've seen on Twitter is global monopolists. I never heard that before. So they are drugged out, soulless Hollywood types. They hate you, and they look for things that you enjoy so they can destroy it. It's like when you're kids and your brother is looking for the toy that you're looking for just so they can get it first. But in this case, it's like they're trying to break it with a sledgehammer. The Mary Sue had an article that kind of relates to this from the fan side of the equation, the curative versus the transformative fans. And here's the thing, with whatever you're into, it's over. If it gets popular, they will destroy it. You absolutely must gatekeep the Bolsheviks out of whatever you enjoy. Or honestly, instead of being involved in a fandom, you'd be better off writing your own stories. Oh, I don't know how to write. Well, yeah, but the time you save on not being involved in some stupid whatever, it's like you could learn how to write. You just spend an hour every evening doing it. Or pick up a camera and start filming skits. Create something. Really, creating something, anything, is a much better use of your time than consuming content. And there are different stages of the life of a story. When it's just getting started, something like, say, Comicsgate, it's kind of the wild, wild west. Or even the YouTube platform, I don't know, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever it was getting off the ground. And then as the story, the thing goes mainstream, the money starts coming in and the people involved start getting very careful with their investment because they're using that money to further the business and they're hiring people, and it's reasonable. It's okay for the story to be a little cautious as it goes mainstream, but you don't want something to change completely. Otherwise, it's not the story that you connect with. Like with Lord of the Rings, you've got the 4 or 5 main stories that the reader identified with, and they want to see that story in different forms, even continued because the author is gone, and you want, comics, cartoons, live action, prequels, and then further adventures. You need to hire someone else to write it. But you want the author's vision to remain pure. Political correctness is a propaganda manipulation technique invented by people who can't create. They can only infest something that someone else creates. Political correctness is fleeting. The original story is timeless. No, Virginia, there are no Afro hobbits, because that's not part of the story. The stories as told is what makes them great. The solution is just to write your own story about dwarves, elves, men, and gnomes. I don't think any of those are, someone's intellectual property. That's been like part of European storytelling for hundreds or even maybe over 1,000 years. Those are open. Those are on the market. You can just write your own story. Yeah, it can obviously be kind of a Lord of the Rings fantasy world clone, but Lord of the Rings is also very derivative of earlier fantasy works. And even when he was being interviewed, he named some of the earlier fantasy works that he openly took the story from. And he was saying, like, even Shadowfax, the name of the horse, had come from earlier stories, and he would throw in names like that as nods to the earlier stories that helped craft Lord of the Rings into such the monster hit it is. And ultimately, if you want Afro hobbits, it's not that hard to put them in a story. You just base your fantasy land on an Earth, but in like a parallel universe. Then you can include, everyone that's on Earth can be in that story. Hollywood has no interest in the story or even really in money. They want to transform the story to serve propaganda purposes. Transformative, not curative. They said the Mary Sue article was going about these old white fans are all curative. Yeah, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe because they like the origin story. They know that they can get these people, sheep, to buy enough of their garbage to stay in business. Just because something gets a 41% on Rotten Tomatoes doesn't mean it's still not profitable. And even if it's not profitable, like I said, money is really not their primary motivation. And it takes a while for people to get that. You go, listen, if money was their primary motivation, why would they make Ghostbusters 2016? Why would they make Charlie's Angels? The latest X-Men, Terminator with all chicks, all those movies. Why would they make Black Widow the way it was, or Shang-Chi, or Cobra, or Rise of, G.I. Joe thing? Why would they make all these movies that are wokish? It's like they underperform. They all underperform. Even Suicide Squad underperformed. All these movies that came out in the past several years that went on the woke side, almost all of them underperformed. These people to think, oh, well, they're trying to open up the audience, but they're losing money, or to not make as much money as you could have made is a way of thinking of losing money. These people aren't stupid. They're not managing these billion-dollar properties because they're dumb or they have stars in their eyes. They know what they're doing. This is not negligence. They're acting with intent. They are doing this on purpose to spread propaganda, even if it costs them personally some money. And mainly it costs the company hundreds of millions of dollars or even more. Star Wars. Star Wars made $4 billion. Yeah, but let's keep it 100. If it wasn't woke, it probably would have made twice that. What do you mean? You can only max out the movies so much. Here's what I'm talking about. With movies, yes, there's a certain amount of dollar that comes for the movies. But what percentage of your return on investment is coming from toy sales and like McDonald's tie-ins with, like cups and stuff? If Disney Star Wars had been a huge hit with the kids, if it was characters they identified with and not just the ugliest, stupid characters on Earth, you would have had McDonald's tie-ins for the next 5 years. You would have had toy sales. You go, so what did we net? Not gross on the movies. What did we net on the movies? $1.5 billion net. I'm just pulling it out of thin air, whatever it is, $1 billion. It's like, that's pretty decent. Yeah, but we've got time invested and return on investment. It's like calculating what we could have done the money. It's not as great as it sounds. You go, well, what did we expect to invest on a Star Wars movie in toy sales? Oh, we expected to net another $1.5 billion, more than the movies. That's how powerful toy sales are. And he goes, well, what about like, okay, the movies now, let's like DVDs, Blu-rays. I don't even know if they sell those anymore. Special editions, limited editions, extended editions, and then all the Disney Plus, those kind of things. Oh, we expected to from people who wanted the Blu-rays with the extended editions. We expected to get like 400. We expected to net $400 million on a property that we already created. We didn't have to put any new work into it. Net. I'm talking net, not gross. You go, oh, so you lost all that money because Star Wars came. It got whatever it got in the theaters and in Disney Plus. And then it kind of just disappeared because ultimately you look back at Star Wars and like you said, hey, let's have a watch party. Let's go watch Star Wars. We'll live stream it on Odysee. Like, oh, dude, I don't. It'd have to be with a crowd of really funny people and some pharmaceutical enhancements because Star Wars is a drudge to get through. It's not fun. It's not funny. It's not fun. Especially the second and third one. The first one, okay, 20 minutes of the first one. Hey, this is a good movie. Then after that, at minute 21, you're like, oh. Why are you sodomizing me with this film? I felt like I was being sodomized. Anyway, I'm saying these people aren't stupid. They look at all these properties, all these woke properties, and go like, we lost billions of dollars, but they kept doing it. You go, are these people like dumb? No, they're not dumb. They don't get hired to be dumb people. They're not hiring dumb people. They're hiring people who have an ideology to push. These people are. Bolshevism is a religion as extreme as any other religion on earth. And getting people to see that, I don't know. I mean, there are some people who are gently pointing it out, like people like the Quartering will very gently point it out because he doesn't want to lose his YouTube gig. And then other people are more obviously pointed out. Anyway, the thing is, yes, they'll get people to buy some of these movies to at least break even. And then they use the good shows, the hit shows, to subsidize the woke cancer. Cowboy Bebop calls for a well-endowed, skinny girl to basically run around in very revealing costumes. And the actor chosen is pretty enough. I mean, she's a little on the flat-chested side and has kind of chubby thighs and really is just average. I mean, if she was your next door neighbor, you'd think she was hot, but in Hollywood, not so much. Plus, she's got those dead shark eyes, just lifeless doll eyes. But she wasn't even willing to try to play the part. If I was her, I would have begged the director and the costume lady, I would have begged them to put me in the flimsiest, most revealing, I would say like whore me up, slut me up as much as possible. Show that I am willing to convey to the fans, you're willing to whore it up to please them. Take all the feminism nonsense and just ignore it. It's for cat ladies, soy boys, and fatties. Cool, fun people are not feminists. That's the harsh reality that like teenagers need to realize. I'm talking mostly to the guys because like if you think you're gonna like be the feminist guy, just eat less and get in shape and forget all about feminism and just do what you want to do. Do what you want to do and don't hurt anyone. Here's a concept: give people what they want. They're not asking you to publicly applaud Weinstein. They just want you to play a role. Because you're an actor. How hard is that? Apparently, it's an insurmountable task. Anyway, get on Odysee, like, comment, subscribe, support the channel if you can, and I will see you guys all next episode.